Leaders with the city getting an update from the health department on the battle against COVID-19, including an eye-opening stat on the number of deaths in the coastal Bend County. This chart you should be seeing here compares the amount of people who died during July of last year to July of 2020. Basically, before COVID and during, health officials report there were 273 deaths in July of 2019 compared to 406 deaths in July of 2020. Of those, 123 were COVID related. That's according to their death certificates. However, health officials say that number is actually closer to 160, citing a lag time between hospital stats and death certificates.
37% of the deaths just from July had no comorbidities. 63%, on the other hand, had comorbidities, and the highest number of comorbidities were diabetes, high blood pressure, and obesity.
Rodriguez says the numbers for the county puts in line with the state of Texas when it comes to the death rate. For Nueces County, it's 1.64%.